Hello and welcome to the Labor John Podcast, where we roast all about the working class history of Philadelphia and the surrounding world. My name is Sam. I'm joined by my co-host, as always.
I'm Gabe Christie, and we are joined by three lovely other people.
Hi, my name's Sophie. I've been a member of Philly DSA for the past 2 years, and I've been involved in the Strike Kitchen as not a Starbucks worker, but as an ally.
Hello, my name is Megan. I have been a Starbucks barista for almost 4 years. I actually work at the same store as Claudia, so our store has been union for
about 6 months.
I'm gonna say, like 6 months. So relatively new, but still going all in. And I helped set up the Strike Kitchen.
My name is Claudia. I've been working at Starbucks for, I think, possibly exactly 1 year today. And I am the head chef of the Philadelphia Strike Kitchen.
And if you didn't gather from that, the topic of today is the Strike Kitchen that has been set up in Philadelphia in support of the Starbucks Workers United strike of November 2025, which, at least from my understanding, was the first strike kitchen set up in the country for this strike, beating out at least New York City by a day, which is the most important part of it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Proud to be.
Take it one for the team. Thank you.
But before we really get into the kitchen itself, I do want to just start with Megan and Claudia. How did you get involved in the union?
That's a better Megan question. I was not actually present at the store when it was unionized.
Ironically enough, I also wasn't present at the store. So here's the thing. I worked at Starbucks for about 4 years, and every single store that I transferred to, after I transferred out of it, they would unionize. And I was like, guys, I'm out here trying to make it happen, but okay. So back in March, I actually did a internship at Starbucks Corporation, ironically enough. And during that time, they were starting to really pick up the pace with our store, getting it unionized. They texted me. They're like, hey, if you come back, like, are you okay if we unionize? And I was like, absolutely yes. So 2 of our baristas and shift supervisors got together, got the whole team behind it. And we got 100% yeses, which was awesome. I drove a couple people to the store to vote. We had someone who literally just had a baby, like the week before, brought the baby in so she could come in and vote us. Yeah, so it was super awesome. But I've been tracking Starbucks Workers United really since it started, because they had a big presence on social media. So I'd followed them and I've been like hearing the stories, but we really gained a lot of momentum in March, and then we were one of the last stores to get 100% like authorization vote to become a union store in the city. And then that's when everything kind of started picking up the pace as far as getting ready for the strike.
And so, well, I guess it's only been really a couple of months, but what's your experience been as a unionized partner over just the past couple of months?
Yeah, I mean, and Claudia can speak on behalf of this too, but I really feel like there's just a level of support and a level of assurance that the problems that we're experiencing are not isolated. And B, we know that like if we have an issue, we can take it up to somebody and someone's going to do something about it, which there is a hierarchy in any company that you work at, right? You go to your manager, your manager's manager, and kind of escalate up. But this felt like another layer of support, of assurance. And I just feel like the messaging that our union has, like the ideas that it backs, just the level of camaraderie behind everything really has a level of community building in itself. So it's like, I feel like on the floor, we were all pretty close, but then when we unionize, it was like, hey, I'm here for you. Here's the resources. Like we have a little bit more autonomy over our relationships and like what the culture is supposed to look like, which has been pretty
Yeah, I
crazy.
think we definitely see a radical change in the way that we are respected in our workplace. I remember when the unionization effort was going through at the store, there was a lot of posters threatening that there would be an inherent change to the way that corporate interacted with its baristas. But in reality, it just led to them having to respect our rights and our needs more, and especially having the organization like our union to constantly lean on and cooperate with. They gave us like unquestioning respect. Like they were ready to support us no matter what the problem was. Even when we've had conflicts within our store, the union has always backed the baristas 100%. We've never been spoken down to, belittled, or treated like we were any lesser. All of our concerns have been taken very seriously by the union, and I think that that's a level of respect in the workplace that a non-union store may not experience.
I also feel like there's a level of anxiety that the managers experience too once they're a union store. Like they're so nervous to I don't know, get caught for the bullshit that they try to pull, that like at least within the first couple of weeks of me getting back on the floor, like I know I sat down with our DM with another barista because we had a bunch of safety concerns on the floor. And I was like, listen, like, I'm not coming at you as someone that's a me versus you, union versus corporate. I'm coming at you as someone who's in your workplace and who wants to sit here and talk about agreements. Like, we're about to have a contract signed, whether you like it or not. So let's talk about what that looks like and how we can get on top of it. Because my workplace safety should be your number one priority. Even if I'm union, I'm still a Starbucks partner. Like, I'm in a union because I want you to be better. So let's sit down and collaborate and like talk about what that looks like right now on the ground. And I feel like that was the first time that RDM finally sat down and had these like open conversations. So it's not even just what's happening at the bargaining table. It was like, I think they're so nervous on the regional level about how this can escalate, which it's already escalating, that they are taking extra steps to try to listen because they don't want anything like a strike to happen, which it has come to that point.
To not leave you out of the conversation here, Sophie, how did you get involved with all of this? I know you had mentioned you've been in Philly DSA for 2 years.
Yeah, even though, so it's a bit of a convoluted story. I don't want to take too much of your time up on it, but about 2 years ago, I was working at this restaurant called Goldie, owned by the Cook and Solo company. And I was fired from there for supporting Palestine, to make a long story short. And Philly DSA really stepped up in a time where I had been an inactive member and I was wanting to get more active around Palestine solidarity, and also just trying to figure out what I was going to do, because that had been my job for the past 2 years that had problems, but that I loved in a lot of ways. And so they reached out to me and helped me prepare to give a few interviews, because like I had all these thoughts and feelings, and they helped me like actually make it something that someone could listen to and try to like craft a message to show how solidarity with Palestine is a workers' issue, and it's also just a workers' rights issue in general, that your boss can fire you for having opinions that you don't like and for not participating in their political speech. And they also raised thousands of dollars for me and two of my other coworkers who had been fired for the same reason. And so after that, I was still looking for a job. And one of the DSA members that I was interacting with a lot had been a SALT, to someone who gets a job to organize it at Starbucks. And she said that I should do the same thing. And I was like, well, I don't have a job, so why not? And so she connected me with some of the organizers at Workers United, and they trained me on union organizing. And I couldn't get a job at Starbucks for whatever reason. I was applying, not getting a job, so I got a job somewhere else called OCF Coffee. and worked there for several months. There was already a campaign underway, and they just needed a little bit of extra help at one of the stores that didn't have that much union leadership going on yet. And it was a really stressful and amazing learning experience. I learned a lot about organizing. We hit well over 80% on cards. We went public, and then a week later, we got this announcement that the stores were all closing. We were all getting fired. So, like, we had no workplace to go back to the next day. And so even though I was never officially a member of PJB Local 80, it felt like this is still my union. And so I've stayed very connected to them ever since.
That's awesome. And I mean, not awesome that you kept getting fired, but
But listen, like, sometimes the boss really is the best organizer, because after each of these things, I was like, you are not gonna stop me. Like, this is making me so much worse.
So what led, well, obviously this is a long story, but in as short of a way as you can, what led up to the present strike?
Yeah, a lot of things. I mean, ultimately, our union has been fighting for our very first contract for 4 years, right? We have about, I want to say 80 to 90% of the contract finalized. What keeps happening, though, is Starbucks keeps stonewalling on our last fee request. And of course, those last fee requests center around the economics, right? We want better take-home pay. We want better staffing and scheduling. Those are things that are going to be more immediate and more impactful for a barista and a shift supervisor day to day, right? Like, to be able to not have to work 2-3 jobs while you're also expected to have open availability is going to be big. If I can pay my rent with just one job, that'd be absolutely insane. And then also we want them to own up and take accountability for the ULPs. They've been constantly violating labor law. I think there's been about 125 pending unfair labor practices just this year, but they have overall 700 that are still pending, 400 labor law violations that they've already been said they have committed. So yeah, we're just trying to get them to own up to their shit, and also make sure that the day-to-day life of the barista and shift supervisor on the floor is going to get better. And just to be fully transparent with you guys too, like, they have the full capacity to pay for a multi-year fair union contract with just 1 day's worth of sales.
Wow.
Actively have the capacity to do so. They paid our CEO $96 million for 4 months of work, and a multi-year fair union contract would cost less than what they paid him for 4 months of work.
Yeah, but he's a job creator.
I mean, you saw what he said about the Chipotle bowls. Like, you just gotta like ask for, just like, spit more. Come on.
Honestly, I think it's the jawline. I think the jawline is really what made
You
it.
need another convention or whatever that was in Las Vegas.
Oh, with the Bruno Mars concert and everything like that. I mean, he knows Bruno Mars. That's pretty much what we're paying him for.
There you go. You're once. It's like the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You're one step closer to Bruno Mars. You should be thankful for your job.
I'm just going to write down a note for myself. Develop a $96 million jawline. Future goals there.
Gabe, you already got one, buddy. Come on, let's all serious.
All right. So we're ostensibly a labor history podcast. And
that's what it says on the sign outside the door.
You have a sign. So I've always loved finding both stories and images of strike kitchens, specifically from throughout labor history. There's at least one. I think it was the Exide battery plant sit-down strike, where all of the strikers came out saying that they had gained weight while on sit-down strike. because of the quality of the food coming out of the strike kitchen.
I love
But
that.
I just wanted to see, like, how did the idea for this strike kitchen develop, and what was it just born out of necessity? Did you have or was there like an understanding of their use and importance historically? How did it come up this time?
I think that the Shred Kitchen coming about was a lot of things going right at the same time. Because I could tell you that for every city that wanted to join in on the Strike Kitchen initiative, their paths towards opening up a Strike Kitchen have been radically different from one another. Uh, Originally, when it came down to seeing what initiatives we could even push for, our union was just looking for volunteers who had skills. That's really as simple as it was. They had a massive variety of talents, and we wanted to see what we had the most of. I know when it came to me becoming the head chef, it was quite literally as simple as Megan saying, "Hey, Claudia, what do you want to do?" And I told her I was good at cooking. Now, thankfully, we do have our wonderful allies in the Democratic Socialists of America who are very familiar with a variety of strike projects and initiatives that have been utilized in a number of strikes. And they already had the concept of a strike kitchen brewing. So when Starbucks Workers United was able to come up to the Democratic Socialists of America and tell them that they had excited and ready volunteers, it really just came to the point where we just held hands and sang Kumbaya and made jambalaya.
Jambalaya, jambalaya.
I mean, the way it came to me was that I think it was September that one of the Philly DSA co-chairs came to me and said, "Hey, you're the solidarity captain of this chapter," which is like one of the elected leadership roles in the Labor Commission. And he said, "Hey, would you like to set up a strike kitchen, because the National Labor Commission for DSA has been encouraging the solidarity captains in every chapter to set up a strike kitchen." And when he told me that, I was like, that seems a little ambitious. I've only been in DSA for like less than 2 years. Maybe we should do like a strike pantry or something else. And he was kind of disappointed. And I was like, no, I'm not going to leave him disappointed. We're going to do this. And it's also helped a lot that like there's been so much support from the national DSA all along the way, where like they're trying to make it in as many cities as possible, but they've been providing support through like grant funding. So they've supported us in being able to pay for the space that we found and for the food that we're buying. And I think they've singled out this strategy partly because there's a really deep history and labor history of these kind of projects. And it's also just, I think, a really powerful way to boost morale on the picket lines, where it's great to show up to a picket line, but like, what can you really bring to a picket line that isn't more soft pretzels and donuts that like you get sick of pretty quickly? And it's also just created a space where workers and DSA members and other people from the community are organically spending time together, talking about stuff, all kinds of stuff, but sometimes politics, sometimes not, sometimes union organizing, and I think just building the kind of connections that make the labor movement stronger.
I think what also helped too was, I mean, we all are going through the current administration. Like, we all are seeing these, you know, departments and these programs that are being absolutely slashed and gutted. And it's like, you know, I didn't grow up in Philly, but since I've moved here, like, I really feel like this city just has so much momentum when people ask for help, right? Like, I'm going to be fully honest with you. I don't know how successful we would have been if I was placed in the Midwest in like a cornfield, right? With a Starbucks store and, other community members that are that far away, right? Like we have this like electric energy that starts to buzz, especially when there's a lot of injustice and especially when there's a lot of people who are struggling. And obviously, this is an old city. It's a city that was built to scream and shout and, gather and collect and be together. So I feel like, all the other cities, they're going to do it a different way and they all should do it a different way. The best thing is we're all plugging in and like asking each other, hey, what are you good at? And what can I throw you on based off of what A, you're good at, and B, what you want to learn, right? Like, we're not expected to be on the floor right now. So the most important thing, at least for me, is going up to people and being like, what the fuck do you want to do? Because we got the time. And if you can plug in the way that you want to plug in, that's going to keep you energized, we got to do it because this isn't a race, it's a marathon, right? We are going to be out on strike until they decide to come to the table, which means I don't know when it's going to end. And that means that there's going to be people who are stressed and who are anxious and who are going to go through all of these whirlwinds of emotion. And so the most important thing that we can do on this team is to be able to provide a hot meal and to sit down with people and ask how they're doing, right? Like this isn't just about the cooking, it's also about the distribution. It's about that we're sitting down, family style, we're talking to each other, we're supporting one another, we're connecting, we're like checking in and knowing that we have that space 5 days a week. It really is like such a powerful thing.
I think Philadelphia really is leading in this regard because although Megan, you may have not grown up in the city, your assessment of it is completely correct. As somebody who did grow up here, we're really good at collectively at being nice and being loud and angry. And with a strike, trust me, you have plenty of people who are loud and angry out on a picket line. And so we, I think, really put ourselves up as the front runners because we are just as good as being nice to everybody at the same time. We have corporations and an administration trying to slash us down with negativity, cutting our Medicare, cutting our food, and we instead turn around and use all of our collective power to be just as nice to people as they are toxic to us. We are trying to put smiles on people's faces and full bellies with warm, delicious home-cooked food.
It's also such a marathon that I'm looking at this as part of our path towards a general strike in 2028. If we can do this for Starbucks workers, I think that'll go a long way towards helping us when it's time to do it again and make it bigger and bigger every single time.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing too, is something that Sophie and Claudia and I have been talking about is how can we set up this church so they feel like they can plug in quickly and readily and are available and know exactly what to do for the next person who has to come in and do this, right? Like we're literally building these logistic models for them to use and get them involved in, because it was like they were so willing and ready to have us jump in. And their specific soup kitchen hadn't been active in years. Like the first couple of days last week was us just deep cleaning and turning things on and off to see if something was, we could plug things in, if it was going to turn out the power. Like,
trust me, it still hasn't even been that stable since.
Yeah, but it's, it's a good space. And it's like, how can we make this something, like Sophie said, how can we make this like something that's going to live past us, right? Like, how can we make sure that they're ready to take on the next thing? Because we know like us and our strike, it's not going to be the last.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure people are able to plug
I
in,
actually did have the absolute pleasure the other day of meeting one of the pastors of the church that we have the strike kitchen set up in. And I was so excited to talk them through the entire process of how we revitalized a space that was otherwise a literal storage closet into being able to feed dozens, if not hundreds of people a day out of a storage closet in a basement. All it takes is what the labor movement in general has that the elites that we're not fighting is people and time. And that is the number one asset that we have been able to optimize as much as we can to make all of this function. We don't have millions of dollars to throw at every problem, but we do have elbow grease, grit, and determination, and people willing to put in the hours to make things happen.
Damn, I'm ready to go. Let's go, Gabe. Come on, let's get to the kitchen.
This just, I keep thinking about, like, because a lot of the questions when you're looking at labor history or tell anyone vaguely related to the labor movement that you're a labor historian, is the questions that always come up are like, why is the labor movement so weak now? What has happened to bring us to this point? And I think hearing your stories from this, I think one of the biggest things that often gets overlooked is the muscle memory of being able to do things like this, of knowing how to set up a strike kitchen basically at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
And having that infrastructure built up and ready to go. Because like we used to have the labor lyceums throughout the city, or I think there were 4 of them at the peak, which served as like community centers just for the labor movement. And then every union had their own union hall as well. Or they were using like the Oddfellows halls. And so it's really interesting to see that kind of infrastructure get built back up effectively from the ground up, because we've lost it over the past 75 odd years. But see that get built back up in real time and then immediately put into effective use.
See, I don't think that there is any weakness nor special strength that our union has.
Mhm.
Of course, while I would love to say that we are the most determined, the most capable, the most tough as nails, I think really we are the same as everybody else. I don't think it's that the labor movement's any weaker any weaker than what we are displaying now. I think it's just that people are afraid to get involved, I suppose. People are afraid to want to step up. And I totally understand that. That is a fear of God that has been put into us by our corporation that we are directly serving under. And I feel like once people break out of the mold, and I think unionization helps with that incredibly, suddenly it becomes very easy to just want to use your time to do something better than work your hourly job.
But the thing that you learned, or that I learned really quickly, is like there are people out here with all kinds of skills and abilities and things that they're willing to share, and you just have to put out the ask. And every time I asked for anything from Philly DSA or from the community or from Starbucks Workers United, I was always amazed with how quickly they would come back with what I asked for and with more. And so it's like these people are out here with incredible skills and talents and willingness to help, but you have to have some kind of organization and way to bring us all together.
The only way to start a marathon or a sprint is by taking the first step, and the only thing can make the second step happen is the first.
There you go.
Truth.
And so we've covered this a little bit, but what specific things have you learned over the first week or so of the kitchen being up and running?
The biggest point that I've seen that has gone from me having incredibly stressful days to me having incredibly laid back days while doing a similar amount of work is understanding an idea that I think is really at the core of the labor movement, is that everybody has their own strengths. Like Sophie said, everybody has something they want to put forward and wants to contribute. And I think when it comes down to the kitchen, that is just as true. It's, in fact, I think even more exemplified because everybody comes from different backgrounds. They're used to cooking different dishes. They're used to their parents making them different things with different spices and seasonings. And they're used to cooking for big families or small families. And really, when I learned that although not everybody may have, say, restaurateur or catering experience, everybody has experience with food, and honestly, that is enough to get through an incredible amount of work when I just trust people to lean on their own experience and their own taste buds. Uh, I'll take the example the other day. I don't have too much experience with Southern cooking, but on my menu for one day, I wanted to include collard greens, and I was ever so blessed by the DSA that they were able to bring in a volunteer from Louisiana who just said that she had it taken care of. And
There
I
you go.
stepped back. It didn't matter that I was the head chef. Sure, I was tasting things, and my eyes were rolling back in my head at how amazing they were. But I said, okay, here's the ingredients we have. Here's the restrictions we need to follow. Here's what we're cooking for. And she said that she got it. And by God, those are the best collards I've ever eaten.
I love it.
I didn't need to do any work there. Not that I didn't do any work, but more so, I didn't need to have to worry about that because I had my fellow comrades I could lean on who could apply their own strengths, so to speak.
That's awesome. Well, I'll open the floor to Sam because I've been hogging all the questions so far.
I was going to save this for like the last, but I have a question. Actually, this kind of goes into it with the collard green. What was your favorite dish so far? I know this has nothing to do with like logistics or anything. I just want to know what your favorite dish was.
That's really hard. I do not want to let my ego get in the way and say everything I make is amazing. But
How about least favorite then?
No. I'm sorry. Chef's ego was getting the better of me. I would say I think the best is we did a very large spicy turkey chili. Funny enough, I've asked a lot of people that very same question in order to adjust my menu. And that's not what I've heard a lot of love for, but I love smoky, hearty meatiness in any kind of dish. That is my favorite. That is my comfort. So when I got to make a gargantuan pot of chili with 10 pounds of beef and 20 pounds of turkey, I was in heaven. Especially with all fire roasted vegetables. We really take the time to enhance the flavors of every ingredient that we cook with, because like I said, the thing we have is labor and time. And everything was charred or smoked or stewed, and I definitely stole too much of it for my own fridge. But that was my favorite so far, I would say.
You're on strike too. You got to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've earned it. I really liked I'm vegan. They had a vegan okra curry one day.
Okay.
That was so good. I love okra, and it made me feel really healthy to eat it. Like I felt like I was getting stronger.
Yeah, it's way better than just eating pizza on the picket
Right.
line. So, yeah, I would have to say I definitely like the okra soup, but I also they paired it with the jambalaya, and
that's why I made the joke about the jambalaya earlier. That's the one that's gotten so much love from everybody. And I have a bit of shame about that, because our kitchen, we've done a lot of work that every day we serve a vegan option and a halal option at minimum. We don't just do any outright pork products or dairy. We try to avoid all that as much as possible.
Nice.
Because we know the communities that we're feeding, and we know those are the most common restrictions. So, of course, when it came to jambalaya, I couldn't pour in a pound of pork fat, or I couldn't go out to source fresh crawfish from Louisiana. I had to work within the confines of what we actually had. So, as much as everybody loved the flavor of the jambalaya, I do take a slight point of shame that it had no seafood in it whatsoever.
It was delicious. It was so good. And I also have to say too, like one thing that we tried to do was I love the modern day sometimes. We did a survey monkey to try to get just an understanding of like what do people need? Like not only in the soup kitchen, but like what services do you need in this area? Do you need childcare? Do you need rides to places? Like what do you need? And again, part of that survey was what are your restrictions? What do you prefer? What's going to be best for you? Do you just want snacks? Do you want a meal? Do you want something to take home with you? And I definitely think that those answers are probably going to change, as we get further and further into the strike. But at the same time, it's like Starbucks loves to say that they listen to the partners' voices and they make us do all these surveys. And I was like, I'm taking one from your friggin' book. I love a survey.
Oh,
So that's really been our cheat sheet with
we've
that,
been loving the
honestly.
data. I've had this little notebook that I've been carrying around with me at any kind of partner gathering or even customer gathering at that point. Just seeing what foods people like. And I have a huge backlog of dishes I'm excited to make for people because they're foods that people want. Plain and simple. I don't make any dishes because I came up with it. I make dishes because somebody asked me to.
And and going back to, we were talking about mundane pizza and all that. Pizza gets old. Hey, Sophie, it's it's scientifically and historically proven that Philadelphians can subsist entirely on soft pretzels. Okay,
I'm gonna need your data to back that up.
We have the documents. We have the documents. The 1937 excise strike, Gabe.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up.
I tried to do it when I was at Unite here, striking against Aramark at the stadium, and it did not make me feel right.
No.
If nothing else, we have documentary evidence that this is a proud Philadelphia tradition going back to at least 1937. There's a picture of a sit-down striker being handed a pretzel through the bars
Oh my gosh.
of the Exide factory.
All right, I should retract my statement. Let's close this whole thing up and just buy soft pretzels.
At least enjoy the strengths of the kitchen that we could probably make a damn good dipping sauce to go with them. All right,
There you go.
All right.
Yeah, didn't you just make ketchup, Claudia?
Hey, that was
That's
my
not
own personal
traditional, but
pet
I think you
project.
could make some mustard.
Oh, I could absolutely make some mustard. If you put me in charge of some whole grain mustard, I promise you it'll be fermented, it'll be garlic, it'll be spicy, it'll be everything you could ever want.
I think, I feel like if we could make the dipping sauce, Gabe, Sam, y'all are invited to the kitchen.
I'm going. I'm already there.
I would be happy to give you guys some pretzels.
All right. So to close out, this has been fantastic, but how can folks help? Either the kitchen itself or SBWU in general for the strike. What do y'all need? How can folks get plugged in?
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways specifically that you can plug in with us. We do have a food pantry, which I can make sure gets sent, like that information sent over for you in a link. But outside of the soup kitchen itself, we have a food pantry for all the striking workers and their families. So I think we also have a list of items that are like top priority. So people can definitely plug in that way. We also have a no contract, no coffee pledge that people can sign. And this is just saying, hey, as long as workers are out on strike, we are not going to buy any Starbucks products, period. What that does is it plugs you into your specific local striking worker info. And so if you sign up and you do that, not only is that pledge going to just up in number and be sent to corporate, and they're going to get nervous. You'll also get life updates on like what's happening in your specific area and just real time ways to help, not just in Philly, but kind of across the nation. You can come out to the picket lines. You can help in the soup kitchen if you really feel up to it.
Backlog of volunteers there.
That's great.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing is no coffee, no contract. Sign that pledge. Donate to the food pantry. I know there's a couple of fundraisers that are kind of in the works as well that we can send links to, just to help with like hardship funds and stuff like that. So. And spread the word.
Yeah, you can also go to the Philly DSA Labor link tree, which has the no contract, no coffee pledge. It's got a link to donate to our strike support kitchen fund, which is paying for the food and meals, supplies, and things like that. There's also the form to volunteer and, of course, join DSA. And also, if someone has a refrigerator they want to bring us, that would be awesome. That's been our number one problem. So if someone
Okay.
is listening and has a refrigerator, call me.
I will also offer, when we do our service, we do not discriminate between DSA members, volunteers, Starbucks workers. The people who are present are the ones who are fed. So, if you're out on the picket line and you're screaming and shouting real good, you might as well get served some lunch. I'm sure your voice is going to be hoarse.
Sounds good.
I love it. An army marches on its belly, Gabe.
It does indeed.
That is a quote I live by. That is why I make no sacrifices when it comes to actually giving people good food. I will not be serving things out of a can. I will not be making instant boxed items. Everything's fresh, everything's from scratch, because that's what's going to make people keep coming back.
Love it. Quality.
Well, make sure you preserve and save all of your recipe lists when you're done, because those need to be put into some kind of Philadelphia Labor Archive at some point.
Or some kind of like Philly cook kitchen, strike kitchen cookbook. You know what I mean?
Look, if Jose Andreas wants to hit me up and get me working at World Central Kitchen, I wouldn't say no.
There you go.
I will say, we'll close this up. I will say that on a personal note, my darling, loving wife used to have Starbucks every single day. Since the strike started, in solidarity, she has ceased that. She has the shakes, but she's holding strong.
And she is so brave. I will literally for a cup of coffee if she.
That extends to every worker of the strike kitchen. Meg can tell you, when we first figured out the location and we were actually there on the ground, the first thing we had to do was figure out the nearest coffee shop. Because the truth is, as Starbucks baristas and corporate union, everybody can agree, if you took away our ability to make ourselves unlimited free coffee during our shifts, they would have a lot bigger things to worry about than unionization. They would have to worry about violence, probably. So we have put a lot of effort into ensuring that we have a good source of coffee for everybody working in the kitchen.
And the beauty of Workers United Local 80 is that there is a wide variety of not Starbucks unionized coffee shops throughout the greater Philadelphia area.
Yeah, there is.
But all right, well, thank you all. This has been an absolute pleasure. And thank you for everything that you're doing to keep the strike kitchen going. It's an inspiration.
Thank you. Thank you guys for talking.
Yes, thank you so much. And we'll make sure that you guys get the first edition of the Philly SBWU strike book.
Ooh.
Please, I make up all the recipes as I go. Don't do that to me.